words. My staff prepared some notes, but I don't think I'm going to read them, and I'll tell you why. What I'm going to say is very, very easy, and it really comes from my heart. My purpose in being here today is to say thank you to the Commonwealth of Virginia for all they have done for battlefield preservation. And while it is true that the Commonwealth has done some things in the years leading up to Governor Kaine's term, it pales in comparison with what Governor Kaine and his administration has done in the last 3 years. And it's not just the governor, it's the team that the governor has assembled. I'll start with Kathleen Kilpatrick, who, amongst other things, she has a couple of titles, but one is State Historic Preservation Officer, SHPO is the acronym. And I can tell you this, and I deal with 16 or 17 states that had a fair amount of dealings with a number of other states. Every state has a State Historic Preservation Officer. Kathleen is probably the best, certainly one of the two best in the United States, in my humble opinion. She does an absolutely that behind her back as well as in front of her. Preston Bryant is Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources here, an appointee of Governor Kaine as well. Another gentleman has done just a tremendous job in helping not only save land in general, but historic land, which is to say Civil War battlefield land. He has done a tremendous job. It's the team that the governor's assembled and the leadership the governor has provided. And leadership, governor, in my humble opinion, and I'm a recovering politician, I've spent 16 years in the business, leadership comes from the top. And Governor Kaine, you have provided that leadership. And I sincerely mean this. I get a chance to look at it from a national perspective. And I can tell you there are two governors in the United States that I've seen in the last 7 or 8, 10 years that I've been doing this particular job that stand head and shoulders above any two governors in the United States. One is Governor Bredesen of Tennessee, who's had the opportunity of 8 years of doing his job, and the other is Governor Kaine of Virginia. His goal of 400,000 acres, which he's going to make, which he's going to meet, which his administration is going to meet under his leadership, is nothing short of phenomenal. And more specifically with respect to Civil War battlefield preservation, the $5.1 million that he has committed with the help of the legislature, the approval of the legislature, is the most the Commonwealth of Virginia has ever done in the history of the state. So you can see that his leadership is not only significant in land preservation in general, and historic land preservation, battlefield land preservation in particular, but it is preeminent. Governor, I can't thank you enough for your leadership and the legacy that you're going to leave after your 4 years as governor. Two other gentlemen that you see up here. One is Speaker Howell, my buddy, as is Senator Howell. Speaker Howell, as the governor said, is leaving a legacy in land preservation that is also truly remarkable. The governor mentioned his leadership. He was one of the lead co-sponsors in creating the historic Virginia tax credit, the land conservation credit. It is the best in the United States. I don't even know of a number 2. That's how good it is. And I can tell you right now, we would not have been able to save this Slaughter Pen Farm, this $12 million transaction, this largest transaction of its kind in American history, if it had not been for those tax credits. And Bill, for that, if for nothing else, I thank you so very, very much. He's also instrumental in shepherding the governor's request for $5+ million for the Virginia Battlefield Preservation Fund. That's not the real name, but it's so long I can't remember it. That's what it is. That's what it does to the legislature. And Bill, I thank you. And Senator Howe. Senator Howe has been a great friend of land preservation, an even better friend of historic land preservation, battlefield preservation. And Senator Howe brings a unique perspective. He is an educator by training. That's his day job. That's his real job. And as the governor said, I'm so glad to see not only students out here today, because these are outdoor classrooms. That's what these battlefields are. These are places where future generations can come and learn about what it's like to be an American, what it's like to have been an American. And it's probably even more important to see the teachers out there with us, because they're a vital part of the future of this country. But Senator Howe, I thank you as well for all you've done. Civil War Preservation Trust. There's another person I'd like to thank by name. Well, first I'll name his organization, the American Battlefield Protection Program. Governor Kaine referenced this as well. We couldn't have done Slaughter Pen Farm, this transaction, without the help of a lot of people. One was the Central Virginia Battlefield Trust, a great private partner, but the other is the American Battlefield Protection Program. They contributed $2 million to this transaction, and they have contributed over the last 9 years across the United States $38 million to Civil War battlefield preservation. And its leader is here today, and Brian Mitchell, and I'd like to recognize Brian Mitchell. He has been there from the start. I'll tell you, inside, working with the federal bureaucracy is a trip. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone, except someone I really didn't like. But thank God for people like Brian Mitchell, because he has helped us navigate through that labyrinth, and that's what it is, with a lot of dead ends, called the federal bureaucracy. And so Brian, we're very much indebted to you and your staff for what they do to enable us to let us do. Let me just conclude by just talking briefly about this transaction here. In a sense, this transaction was a miracle. It was $12 million, 208 acres, and the seller was hostile to us, to me personally. She didn't like me, and I don't know why. She didn't like me. And part of it may have been that she wanted to sell 60 of the 200 acres to the school board, and we didn't think she ought to do that because we thought this ought to be an outdoor classroom without walls. But in any event, let me give you just a brief history. There's a guy by the name of Mike Jones, and I don't know if Mike is here today. There he is, speaking of the devil. Wonderful devil. Wonderful guy. Mike is a local developer. He is also a responsible member of his community. He cares about this community. Provides housing, provides other things. He's in business to make money. God bless him. He's a good capitalist, but he also gives back a lot to his community. When I talked to Mike, I said, Mike, is this $12 million price ridiculous? Is it a fair price? And he said, it's a fair price. And I said, she won't sell to me. So Mike said, well, maybe she'll sell to me. And he got the contract, and he gave us that contract, and he didn't mark it up a nickel. And Michael, I'm so glad you're here. I thank you very much. He and I did another multi-million-dollar deal at Chancellorsville, and I can tell you this right now, he's a handshake guy. We made an agreement, we shook on it, and we did it. And he gave us his contract, and this was a handshake deal. Then we went to SunTrust, who had no business making a $12 million full loan-to-value loan to a nonprofit like us. But C.T. Hill, God bless him, I don't suppose he's here, but he had the courage to do that, and we were able to get the financing. So Mike Jones, C.T. Hill, then we put together the deal, and then we had to figure out a way how to pay for it. And to put it in perspective, the largest deal we'd ever done was $3 million. So this was an order of magnitude of 4. And as I said, it was, and as the governor said, it was the largest transaction of its kind. That is a private sector organization buying a piece of historic land. It was the largest dollar transaction in American history. And it came together because of the leadership of Governor Kaine, Senator House, the Speaker, and I sincerely mean that. The Commonwealth of Virginia, with their leadership. It came together because of the American Battlefield Protection Program. And yes, the Bush administration, I might add. Secretary Kempthorne even came out to the event. It came out because of the Central Virginia Battlefield Trust. It came out because of a lot of people and organizations came together. And the consequence is that we got to save one of the more important pieces of heritage land in the United States of America. Kathleen Kilpatrick said there was over 5,000 casualties in this land, as you can see. 5 Medal of Honor winners, and untold and unremembered and uncounted heroism that went along with it. And the consequence is this. 1, we have open space. 2, we've got something that's actually going to help the environment, not detract from it, from air quality, from water quality, from traffic, any way you want to name it. And probably most important of all, we've got an outdoor classroom. We've got something that I talked about in the beginning, where future generations, long after we're dead and gone, can come here and learn what it's like to be in America. hopefully build on those virtues, that heroism, that honor, that commitment to what they believed in, and make this even a better country. So let me just conclude by thanking Governor Kaine again, and Speaker Howell, Senator Houck, because without your leadership, what the trust has been able to do in the Commonwealth of Virginia, particularly in the last 2 years, simply was not accomplished. It would not have been able to do it.